You know, you never go out for series regulars. You go out for under fives. And you're like, well, first of all, I know I'm as good as these people as the people I'm watching on TV. Why aren't I on TV? Because I'm not getting the shot. Why am I not getting the shot? Why am I not getting the audition? Why is my agent submitting me? Why am I submitting myself? Why am I taking classes with these people and still not getting called in? What is the secret? The other piece that's happening is you do get the audition, you go into the audition, and you say the lines, and you're talking to somebody, and somebody's talking back to you, and then when you leave, you're like, that didn't feel right. And you can't figure out why that doesn't feel right. And you're taking classes with casting people, and the best that they can say is, I didn't believe you. Well, that's not a note you can act. That's not helping you. I love when you take a class with somebody, they're like, I don't believe you, I hate what you just did. Okay, can you give me a note that I can act? I don't believe you, I hate what you just did. Can you give me a fucking note that I can act? Can you teach me how to handle the fucking camera? And I'm here to tell you, when people give you a note like that, it's not that they don't want to teach you, they don't know how, right? If you are not an actor working in TV and film regularly right now, how are you going to learn what works? Or you're on TV and film sporadically, right? A friend of mine is on Luke Cage. Hi, John. He's a recurring. And he was talking about how Alfre Woodard had to stop a take and reset up the shot and give some information that everybody was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And he was like, how did she know that? I was like, from working on TV and film all the time. In the medium, one, but in the medium as it changes. You know? I was coaching a client today, and we were looking at Master of None. We were looking at another pilot audition that she was working on, and I was like, what's the tone of this? She's like, I don't know the tone. I think the tone is just like Master of None. And she's like, oh, okay, how do I act that? I was like, let's turn on Master of None and look at the tone. Because that tone is very akin to so much of the comedy of so many of the shows on Netflix now. And guess what? Netflix and Amazon, they have their own pilot season, they have their own shows that are being made, and nobody on those shows is famous. No one. All of the actors on these half-hour shows on Netflix and Amazon are unknowns. They're not movie stars. This is their first big TV job. They did it. What do they know that we don't know? Some of it is that those actors understand the tone of the material they're auditioning for. And you gotta identify that. Everybody goes and goes, I'm just gonna listen and respond and just be myself. No! Right? That's like going into, I don't know. That's like going in for a Broadway musical and singing it like it's Showboat or Ragtime, but it's really Rent. It's a different style. Acting is exactly the same, right? You can't go in for a half-hour sitcom and do the same kind of acting you would do for a Law and Order audition. It's a different genre. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. Some of this you learn by paying attention to shows, and not paying attention to shows where I'm gonna watch this show and I'm gonna learn what happens in the show and I like it. No, you gotta learn how to watch shows like an actor. What kind of acting is happening there? Are they throwing away the line? Are they speaking from their truth? What's the speed? What's the pace? When you go in for a Grey's Anatomy audition, it is nothing like The Good Wife. Why is that? I don't know. Let's turn it on and watch. Grey's Anatomy, they make these huge choices that are totally from the character's point of view. They are driven by what the character needs most in the world. When you go in for a Good Wife audition, it is driven by the plot. What's going to happen next? Who needs to know this information so that they can make a political move to get to the next person? When you go in for House of Cards, the acting is still very simple and very strategic. It's a tone. So a lot of times you go in for these auditions and your acting's fine. You're listening, you're responding, you're truthful. You haven't captured the tone of the show. So to the casting person who knows what the tone is they're looking for, they don't know how to teach you how to get there. They didn't go to acting school. And guess what? Your acting teachers did not ever teach in the medium of television that we're working in right now. It's all different. All of it. Because people are being discovered all over the place all the time and bringing their new genres to television. On all these different platforms you can get discovered. You can put a web series up on your website and then get an offer from HBO or NBC. Hey, want to do a half-hour show? Right? So What's happening is that people are getting discovered because their sense of humor, their sense of truth, their sense of the reality TV show, their understanding of telling story has appeal because they have a following. Network television doesn't care what the tone is, just as long as it's got people who are going to watch it. That's all they care about. Your job as the actor is to pay attention to the different tones and understand the acting. This is huge. It's not just about being a good actor anymore. It's about understanding the material you're handling. Just like if you studied acting in school, there were rules for doing Shakespeare. Lift, take a deep, deep, rich breath, and keep the energy lifted until you get to a period where you can take another breath. That's a basic rule of Shakespeare, right? Half-hour, single cam comedy. 30 Rock. A lot of the SNL stuff. Master of None, I love that show. Those, The Office, those single cams, it's a different style of acting. People speak completely from their point of view. They take their time with the words, they throw away the lines. It's very matter of fact. They're listening to their acting object, but really they're listening to find out how they can get what they want, not really listening to listen to them. Go back and watch some of those shows and really analyze that. Once you understand that about a show, it changes everything. Luke Cage, everybody's incredibly truthful and subtle. Truthful and subtle. They take time with the language. The language is grounded and earthy. Pay attention to the great actors on Luke Cage. You'll learn a lot. And you'll learn when you go in for that audition to match the tone of that show. Very realistic. Much of the Netflix stuff is very simple and realistic, right? It's not big, epic TV acting, for a 2-hour miniseries. It's period. It's a different kind of acting. So this is the first thing to nailing that on-camera audition. If you want to get on TV, you first have to know how to act for TV. You have to show up like a professional in the room, understanding the material, understanding the writing, being completely off book, and then listening and responding, not choosing and shaping and molding your acting moments. That's the other thing that I don't talk about. So I am doing these whole series of videos. I should have told you this from the beginning. Because I understand what it is to get to your fuck this moment. I do. Because I got to it. I recently did a play. I haven't done a play in 3 years because I've been doing television and film because I want to eat. Because I want a home. I want a family. I don't want to be on the road all the time. That was a huge transition for me. Making that leap from being on the road doing theater for 6 years and my own solo show to staying my behind in New York City and developing a theater and film career. A film and TV career. I had to learn how to do it. I got in a room with a coach and then I started watching TV and film like an actor. What is the tone? I started practicing how to memorize like this. I can prepare a 3-page, 4-page audition in an hour. I can be completely off book and a fully realized performance. Because the performance you do in the audition is the fully realized performance. That's what you're going to do on set. The lines are probably going to change because lines in television always change. But that's the performance. That's the most rehearsal you're going to get. You don't get that much rehearsal on set, which is why it's so hard to book TV and film. You're expected to come in and nail it. It is not like theater where, you have a rehearsal process and people make allowances for you'll get there. Fuck, you'll get there. TV and film, they expect you to walk in the room and be there. There is no time to rehearse and direct you. TV and film works too fast. So how do you get this process if you're not acting? The first thing is you learn tone. And I'm doing these